Hey there, Mel Abraham here. I'm actually coming live on Instagram for the first time, trying to figure this thing out. I wanted to jump in here. I actually have been doing lives almost every day the last couple of days on my Facebook page and on YouTube and everything. But I thought, got to give Instagram some love, and so I just wanted to jump in here. We were actually talking about something interesting today, and it's really about everything that we're talking about is how do you build wealth? How do you build financial liberation? How do you find freedom and independence in your business? And so the conversation today was, hey there, Kitty Lynn. The conversation today was really about pricing, because I had someone ask the question. I had someone ask me a question today about how do they price their stuff? How do they sell their stuff? I mean, basically, the bottom line is it's a selling question. And so I want to touch on that, but I've never brought anyone on also. So if anyone jumps on that has a question, then I might try and bring them on and see if we can answer some questions too. What the heck? So this is the first time doing that. And hey, I could probably botch it all up, but what the heck? Let's give it a shot. But here's the question that came up. They were saying, I'm having a hard time figuring out how to sell when it comes to pricing. And so one of the things that I think that we need to understand is that we get caught up. I was talking about this on my Facebook Live, and if you want to see, because I actually draw out a framework on the Facebook Live, go to my Facebook page and all that. Rachel's in the house too. So one of the challenges is that when we get into this idea of talking about money, people get all squiggly, all weird and all weirded out because we're talking about money. We're not supposed to talk about money. But if we don't talk about money, how do we make money? How do we understand money? How do we scale money? The whole idea of using your business to scale your business to scale money becomes really, really important. And so that's where the conversation started, was this idea of, is it possible, or is it appropriate? I don't know if that's the right word, but is it appropriate to have a business that actually wants to have an impact but happens to have a profit too? And I'm going, not only is it appropriate, it's necessary. It's necessary if you really want to scale the message, if you want to scale your reach, if you want to scale the impact that you have. We got to have the profitability to do that. And for some reason, there is a segment of entrepreneurs or society, if you will, that want to demonize those that want to create a profit while making a difference. And it's like, the two cannot, absolutely, Rachel, without profit, we can't have more impact. Without profit, we can't have more reach. Without profit, we can't do the movements that we do. In fact, I have one of my clients that I mentor. We completely shifted her business model because she's hit all her numbers. She's hit all her metrics. She's doing extremely, extremely well. And she came to me and she goes, Mel, this is going to sound odd, but I hit my numbers. What do? Do I turn around and just up the numbers? I said, no, we up the game. We don't up the numbers, we up the game. And so her driving force is to give women the possibility of living a life of independence in third world countries. And so we completely restructured her business in the sense of creating a buy one, give one type of situation where when they bought something from her, she would then put a microloan out to them, to an organization that would fund their businesses. She just did a launch, and $105,000 from that launch went towards microloans. And she said to me, I blew the doors off my launch, but more importantly, $105,000 went towards microloans, which meant that 5,500 gals now have a possibility of living a life of independence. She gave 5,500 microloans to these ladies to give them a chance at an independent life. And that won't happen without profitability. That won't happen without doing it. This is what we need to do, is to understand that. So in order to do that, we need to figure out how to have this conversation around money, this conversation around pricing and everything. Rachel, we can talk about that, absolutely. So It's amazing some of the stuff that we can do. But the bottom line is, entrepreneurs really need to make some of this this stuff happen. Here's the thing. Too often we get caught in pricing. And Rachel, you'll appreciate this being from the legal community. And I learned this lesson way back when I had one of the top attorneys in Beverly Hills bring a client to my office a lot of years ago. And it was a high-profile client, which meant it was a high-pricing case. And I was there to be an expert witness. And when we had the conversation, everything went well. And then when the conversation said, okay, what's it going to cost? I backpedaled. I was on my heels. I hemmed and hawed. I did all kinds of things. And then I threw the price out. And then the client says, okay, get me an engagement letter and let's move on. But when the client left, the attorney looked at me and he says, Mel, if you ever turn around and hem and haw or backpedal or sit on your heels when it comes to talking about your value, he says, I'll never bring you a client again. Now, the key word in there is talking about your value. And he said to me, you have a specific expertise. You have the ability to do some things that other people can't do at a level that people can't do it. Each one of you out there have an expertise, have a knowledge, have a wisdom, have something that can serve and change people's lives. People are in pain and you have the solution. It's called transformation. And he said, when you do that, the idea is that you stand in the conviction of your solution and the transformation. You put it out there matter-of-factly, and you allow them to deal with the price, not you. And so the issue is that when we get caught up into this dynamic of really thinking, I got to think about price, what we're not thinking about is value, transformation, and the solution we bring to the table. And so this is the thing that we need to understand. Now, I'll draw a framework when I usually do this, but this is the interesting thing. Someone will come to me and we'll have a conversation. And I'll say, to work with me, and I'm just making a hypothetical up, turn around and say, here's the deal. To work with me, typically it's $10,000 to work with me. And I'll look at them, and now I look at them and go, how do you feel about that? And their initial response is like, what do you mean? $10,000 is a lot of money. Oh my gosh. I go, well, let me ask you, what's more important to you, price or cost? Now, about that time, what ends up happening is that they get this confused look on their face going, the hell do you mean price or cost? Aren't they the same thing? And I said, no. See, cost is something that we paid for, which is really truly an investment where we expect something of greater value coming back. Cost is something that gives back. So, for instance, those people that work with me at the $10,000 level typically make $100,000 or more working with me. Now, that's a 10x return on their investment. So, 10,000 versus 100,000. Now, let me ask you this. How do you feel about that now? Now, it starts to put things in perspective, because what we're talking about is ROI. But here's the next step. Is I'll then sit back and say, so you can look at it and say the cost is $10,000, but then I ask another question, and that question really is, but there's another cost, isn't there? You know that. And they look at me confused again, and I said, you see, because the cost in your mind is the $10,000, or the $100,000 that you don't get because you choose to not spend the $10,000. See, the $10,000 to $100,000 10x multiple is an ROI. But if we never spend the $10,000, we don't get the 10x. It's not an ROI, it's a COI. COI means the cost of inaction. So the question we got to ask ourselves is which cost are you most comfortable with? The $10,000 or the $100,000? Because they're both costs. And they both cost you. And this is a conversation that converts the conversation from price to value and transformation. And when we have that conversation with conviction, things shift. Now, why am I having this conversation? Why am I saying this? And I'm saying this because primarily the reality is that for me, my driving mission right now is to help people find financial liberation, to build an affluent and liberated life so they can have a richer lifestyle, deeper impact, and complete freedom. It's truly that. And one of the ways to do it, one of the pillars of the framework that we use is, how do we scale our cash flow? How do we scale our income? We need cash flow, but we need not only the revenues, but we need to keep the cash flow so we can use the cash flow to create a machine that allows us to do this. It's about using your business, scaling your business to scale your money so the money can support you. And one of the ways to do that is to truly understand what our value is that we bring to the market. Scale the value, you scale your cash, you scale your cash, you scale your money, and you scale your life and your independence. So hopefully that makes sense. That was the conversation that we had this morning. I didn't get a chance to I was going to try and simulcast it live on Instagram, but technology didn't cooperate. Or I didn't understand how to use the technology, but I'm going to blame it on technology instead of me taking responsibility. What the heck? So I thought it was important to just kind of put it out here and let you know this is the conversation that we had. We ought to be having these conversations around money, around price, around cost, around return on investment, cost of inaction. Look, you in your life right now might be looking at making a purchase, getting into a coaching program, buying a training. You might be looking at all kinds of things going on. The question you got to ask yourself is, what do you lose if you don't do it? The COI, the cost of inaction. Because too often we just look at the price and we'll see the $97, the $997, the $1997, the $29.97, the $12.97, the $30,000. And I've spent a lot of money on training, coaching, and mentors. I still do today. But we don't look at it. If we look at it through the eyes of the price that's sitting on the page, then we tend to not make the decision based upon the transformation that they can bring. And so what I'm going to invite you to do is, when you're looking at those buying decisions, is to look at them through the eyes of what the multiple is, the return on investment you could have, or the return on investment you gave up by not acting. Now, once you make the decision and you get involved in something like this, then it's on you, not the program, not the coach, but it's on you to make sure that ROI comes true, because you got to show up just the same as I do. I can get into masterminds, programs, and all that stuff. If I don't use the coaching, if I don't use the tools, if I don't use the templates, if I don't use that, then guess what? It's not the program's fault. It's my fault. And so when we're selling our stuff, we need to stand in the conviction of the value and the transformation that we provide. We need to first value what it is. And I'll give you another story about this. I was at a program where I was a speaker, and one of the other speakers was on stage, and a gal stood up, and she stood there and she broke down into tears. She says, "I'm 9 months into my marriage, and I feel like my marriage is falling apart, and I'm having issues, and I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to do to put my marriage back together, and it's only 9 months in." Now this gal, there was people in that room that can help her. And too often, especially in the online space, we think, well, how we measure value is based on the number of modules or the thud factor or something like that. Here's the deal. Here's the thing. If you were that young lady watching your marriage kind of fall apart after 9 months, do you think she really wanted an 8-week course? Do you think that the value is created by the volume of the stuff you provide? Or is the value created through the transformation that you can create? And what would be more valuable to her? An 8-week course that would take her through it, or an hour conversation with you that could give her the solution to her problems, to take the pain away, to solve it? Because that's what your customers are looking for. They're not looking for 8 weeks. They're not looking for 12 weeks. They're not even looking for 1 week. They're looking for the fast path to the success and to the solution of their pain. And when we look at the solution of their pain, then you price the solution, because that's a value exchange based on transformation, not based on volume, number of pages, number of hours, or anything else like that. And so I'm going to invite you to start looking at things and say, the pain that I solve, how valuable is it? When someone comes to me to help them out with a case where I'm an expert witness, or I'm turning around a business, or I'm helping people in a situation, they've got a situation where there's $20 million on the line. Do you think paying me $150,000 to solve the problem is gonna get them to freak out? Nope, because we're solving a $20 million problem. That's the way I want you to think. You want to scale your income? You want to scale your profit? You want to build wealth? You want to build that financial liberation? Let's scale your thinking first. Think on value, your transformation. Let's not get caught up in price, but let's make sure that the audience understands how valuable you are with the transformation you provide. And all of that starts with you. All right, so hopefully that helps. This was my first live. So yeah, this is cool. I'm gonna try and do more of these. I was trying to do it simulcast, but I couldn't figure out how. And so then I'm gonna have to figure out how to bring someone on live, because I want to do some coaching. I want to answer some questions. If people have money questions, wealth questions, business building questions, anything like that, entrepreneurship, bring it on. DM me, bring it on, share this. Let's let people know, and let's answer some questions. Let's see if I can do some coaching and Q&A stuff as we go forward. So I'll have to figure that piece out. All right. Hey, Lance, thank you so much. And I see Amber. Amber and I were just in a clubhouse room together, and Amber McHugh, and we have another Dr. Amber Gill. She is amazing. Both Ambers are amazing. You ought to be following them. And Rachel was on. I don't know if Rachel's still on here. Branke, you ought to be following all of them. All right. They do. Oops, call came in. So that's it. I just wanted to jump in here for a little bit. I wanted to give you kind of a heads up. If you want to see the actual training with the frameworks and all that stuff, go to my Facebook page. It's up there, and do that. I'm going to do another training tomorrow. Tomorrow, actually, I'm going to have another training. We're going to be talking about, are you where you want to be financially? Let's talk about the metrics that matter, because if we're not measuring things right, we're not making things right. So let's figure that out. All right. Blessings to you all. You have an incredible, incredible rest of the day. And cool. I survived my first live. Talk to you all soon. Cheers. Bye.